For an angle theta in standard position, the terminal ray passes through the point x, y on the unit circle. So the sine value is my y, the cosine value is my x. Why does that always work? SOHCAHTOA, all right? And remember, in a unit circle, your radius is 1. So your hypotenuse of every point when you create a right triangle is going to be 1, which eliminates your denominator for sine and cosine, right? Eliminates your denominator for sine and cosine. So it simply becomes the x value is how far you went over. That is your cosine. The y value is how much you go up. That is your sine. And so when you have the xy value where that line ends on the unit circle, that xy value automatically tells you your cosine and your sine because of SOHCAHTOA. Your tangent then would be which one over which? It's opposite over adjacent. So what is your opposite? That's how far you go up. So that would be your y value. Your adjacent then would be your x value. So on the unit circle, sine, which is normally SOHCAHTOA, opposite over hypotenuse, is simply your y value. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse, is simply your x value. And tangent is y over x, opposite over adjacent, all right? So we did this with this little guy here, right? This is not the best drawing of a theta, but this is your theta right here. All right, that is my angle. So this looks approximately like a 60-degree angle if I were to guess, right? Somewhere around there, close to 60, maybe a little above. All right. How far I went over is my adjacent side. How far I went up is my opposite side. This is why then this value represents my sine, opposite over hypotenuse. This represents my cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this unit circle and we're going to do those very familiar angles that we talked about, 30, 60, and 45. The 30 and 60 go together. They're from the same triangle, remember? They're from the same triangle. The 45, that's going to be the square root of 2 over 2 guy, right? And so we're going to fill in the entire unit circle using those 3 angles and then my ones that end up on my axis, all right? So on the unit circle, we have that. We've discussed. We don't need to discuss that again. All right. One more thing we want to remember, your signs. So sine and cosine are easy as far as your positives and negatives. In the first quadrant, both your x and your y value are positive. Since my tangent is made up of my y over my x, those are going to follow whatever happens with the x and y's. It's positive over positive in the first quadrant. My tangent in the first quadrant is positive. All right? In the second quadrant, my sine value or my y value is positive, but my cosine value is negative. Well, my tangent is my sine over cosine, y over x. Because it's a positive over a negative, my tangent in the second quadrant is negative. All right? Make sense? Third quadrant, both my sine and my cosine are negative. My y value is negative, my x value is negative, which means my tangent is negative over negative, which means my tangent in the third quadrant is positive. All right? And then in the fourth quadrant, it's the same as the second, except my sine value, my y value is negative here. My cosine value, my x value is positive. So now we have a negative over a positive, which again gives me a negative tangent. All right? And so when you're thinking about the unit circle, as we use our 30, 45, and 60s, you're going to have to only change your positive and negative values as you walk around the unit circle. All right? You're only going to have to change your positive and negative values. Questions on that? Going to be, oh, no, don't. All right. And so we begin. Okay. So we're going to start at the axis. My unit circle, remember, has a radius of what? 1. All right. So this first guy is 0 degrees. We have not moved any from my x-axis. We have not moved any from my x-axis. And I'm actually going to put him, let's move him over so that we have him over here. We'll just do it right here. So this is 0 degrees. Okay, 0 degrees. All right. Now, at 0 degrees, I have moved over how many units? How many units have I moved over? 1 unit. It's a unit circle. All right. So my x value here is 1. How many units have I moved up? 0. My y value is 0. What does this tell me about the sine and cosine of a 0 degree angle? The sine is 0. The cosine is 1. The tangent is 0 over 1, which is 0. All right, so I just got my sine, cosine, and tangent of any 0 degree angle. This also represents, by the way, a 360 degree angle. It's coterminal, okay? This first dash here is my 30 degrees. So this right here is 30 degrees. Now let's talk about a 30-degree triangle. All right, we did this yesterday, or Monday rather. So we are going to then do it again today. But we're going to talk about a 30-degree triangle. That way, there we go. Let's move him up. All right, so 30 degrees is what I have here. All right, if you remember from 30 degrees, I have this short side, 1s, right? 1s. I have my long side, which is just square root of 3 times s, right? And I have my hypotenuse, which is just 2 times s. Anytime I do my ratios here, what's going to cancel out? My s. So the ratios are actually in a 1 to square root of 3 to 2. So this is how I can look at my 30 degree here when I'm trying to figure out what's going to go on as far as my sine value and my cosine value, all right? My cosine value for a 30-degree angle is my adjacent over my hypotenuse, correct? All right? What's my adjacent side to this 30? Square root of 3 over my hypotenuse, which is 2. So my x value here at this dot is going to be square root of 3 over 2. Everybody see that? What's my y value? Where it's opposite over hypotenuse. What's my y value here? 1/2. 1/2. All right? Now, here's the thing. This gives me my x and y value of that dot where it ends on the unit circle. It also gives my cosine and my sine. So my sine value of a 30-degree angle is 1/2. Any 30-degree angle in the universe is going to have a ratio of 1/2 for its sine. The opposite over the hypotenuse will be a 1-to-2 ratio, no matter how big the triangle is, all right? The cosine value will be a square root of 3 to 2 ratio. Square root of 3 to 2 ratio, all right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump to the 60, all right? Why will I jump to the 60? Because it's the same, but what's going to happen to my sine and cosine? It's just going to flip. So if I go straight to my 60, who is up here, right? This is my 60 degrees. The only thing that's going to change is it's going to flip-flop. This is going to be 1/2. This is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. They're just going to flip-flop. All right? So let's look at all of my 30 and 60 degree angles. This guy over here, right here, his reference angle is what? His reference angle is going to be a 60, yes? So he should mirror this guy, should he not? Only one thing's going to change. What's going to change? The negative on which one? My cosine or my sine? My x or my y? My cosine, my x value, right? That's what's going to change. So it's going to be negative 1/2 positive square root of 3 over 2. All right. What is the degree measurement of that particular angle? It's 60 away from 180, is it not? So what is it? 120. We went 30 degrees past the 90 there. Okay? 30 degrees past the 90. What's my next 60 or 30 angle? 30 more degrees should be what? 150 down here, right? That one should mirror which one? My 30-degree angle, right? Which is square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. But something changed. The square root of 3 over 2 should be negative. Everybody see what we're doing? My next one's down here. All right. What's the degrees of this guy? I'm 30 away from 180 again. I'm 210. Which one will it mirror? The 30 or the 60? What's my reference angle for this guy? How far away am I? I'm 30 degrees. It should mirror my 30-degree angles, right? So all of the ones that are close to my x-axis are my 30 degrees. They're square root of 3 over 2 1/2. All right? So this is also a square root of 3 over 2 1/2. What's different? They are both negative. Everybody see that? Negative, negative. Yes?
Yes.
My next one is 30 more degrees. It's 200 and what? 40. This one's going to mirror my 60-degree angle, right? This one's going to be a 1/2 square root of 3 over 2, but they are both negative. Yes? All right. What's my next one?
300.
It's 300, right? 300, which is right here. This is 300 degrees. All right. It's going to mirror the 60 or the 30? I'm 60. I'm 60 away from my x-axis. So it's going to be a 1/2 and a square root of 3 over 2. All right. Which one's negative? The sign, the y value, right? Yes? And then my last one, my last of my 30/60s. What's my value there? 330. It's going to mirror my 30-degree, right? Square root of 3 over 2, 1/2, and my 1/2 should be negative. All right? Easy enough? Those are my 30s. All right? The other lines there in the center are my 45s. 45s are even easier. All right? When you have a 45, your opposite and your adjacent are the same exact thing, right? They're just going to be ones, right? Side and side. My hypotenuse is the square root of 2. So I end up with both of them being 1 over the square root of 2, but what do I need to do? Multiply top and bottom by the square root of 2. So both my sine and my cosine of a 45-degree angle is going to be the square root of 2 over 2. All right? That's all of my 45s. They're all going to be square root of 2 over 2s. All right? So that represents my first one, which is right here, 45 degrees. They're both positive. We are in the first quadrant. Square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. All right? My next 45 degree. What is the actual degree measurement? I am 45 past my 90. 135. You can also, by the way, add 15 to your closest angle, right? This is also going to be square root of 2 over 2, but one of them is going to be positive and one's going to be negative. Which one's positive and which one's negative?
The first one's negative.
First one is negative. That is my cosine. All right, what about third quadrant? What's my 45 there? 180 plus 45. Yeah, 225. They are both negative here. Both my cosine and my sine are negative here. All right. My last 45 is going to be 315. Which one's positive? Which one's negative? My y value or my sine value is negative here. All right. We're going to finish up the ones on our axis. Finish up the ones on our axis. All right. Let me see if it'll let me shrink this a little. There we go. So we've already done my 0 degrees. What's my next axis? Straight up. How many degrees is this? This is 90 degrees. All right. What is my x value at 90 degrees? How much did I move left or right? 0. What's my y value? 1, which means my sine of a 90-degree angle is? My sine of a 90-degree angle is? 1 sine. My cosine is? what is my tangent?
It's
1 over 0.
Which is, it's undefined. We do not have a defined. So when we graph this, we're actually going to get an asymptote here on a tangent. All right. So my tangent of my 90 degrees is undefined. Undefined. All right. What's my next axis? What's my degrees of my next axis? 180 degrees. All right. 180 degrees. My x value at 180. How far did I move left or right? It is -1. What's my y value? 0. So my sine of a 180 is 0. My cosine is, my tangent is 0. All right. What's my last axis here?
You're 270.
270 degrees. All right. My x value is
Negative is
0. My y value is -1. Okay.